Welcome back, everybody. Rob from Crown of Thorns with a brand new video for you. And today we're going to be talking about marriage and the family structure. Now, I did a video on this probably a year or two ago, but I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of revisit. It seems like there's something in the water right now, or maybe it's because of the recent eclipse, or maybe there's a full moon, I don't know. But it seems like there are quite a few people that I know of that are having marital issues, marital problems. Some more severe than others, but nonetheless, quite a few people that I know personally and people that I see online, on Facebook or whatever, that are having marital issues. And, of course, anyone who's married knows that at various points of time in your marriage, you will have difficulties. Sometimes it's just simple stuff, an argument, a misunderstanding, whatever it may be. Your wife won't let you buy another guitar. I mean, that's really cruel. But, that's the smaller stuff. The bigger stuff, of course, is if there's a real big marital issue, whether it be adultery or one of the married people no longer wants to be married. Perhaps there's an addiction. Maybe there's just some issue, some sort of turmoil that's causing more than just your usual argument or disagreement within your marriage. And that's unfortunate and that's sad. Sometimes people are able to work through these issues, and other times they're not, and that ultimately can end or result in divorce. And of course, we want to avoid divorce as much as we possibly can. Okay, God does not like divorce. Now, certain situations will result in divorce, and sometimes it's understandable. Obviously, for adultery, Jesus did say that if somebody commits adultery, then you can file for divorce. If you can, you should try to work through it. But if need be, divorce is acceptable. And we learn later on in the books of Paul that if the unbelieving party leaves the marriage, okay, if there's a husband and wife, and say the wife leaves the husband. Now, it was once believed that this guy couldn't get remarried. Even if the divorce was final, for him to remarry would be adultery. Okay? But through the books of Paul, we understand that the unbelieving party, it doesn't mean that they're unsaved or they don't believe in God. The unbelieving party, and what it means by that is the one who no longer values that sacred vow that they made at the time of marriage, at their wedding. They no longer believe in that, and they now leave. This person is no longer held in bondage. This person is now free to remarry. All right? And I could go into that, and maybe I will in another video, but I'm not going to do that today. But at all costs, divorce should try to be avoided. You should try to avoid divorce. All right? Whatever is going on, try to work through it. Try to make amends. Try to forgive, forget, and move forward. And it's not always easy, but we need to try. We need to try to do that. However, if it does end in divorce, that's unfortunate. But what could we have done to prevent not only the divorce, but what could we have done to prevent this prevailing issue? This issue that is so big and so profound that one of the parties no longer wants to be married. Well, in Ephesians chapter 5 and 6, Paul, through Christ, tells us exactly how a marriage is supposed to look. Okay? And we know what marriage is supposed to look like. You go all the way back to Genesis, and God says that marriage is between one woman and one man. It was always supposed to be that way, will always supposed to be that way. It says that a man will leave his parents and cleave to his wife. Cleave means to hold on to grasp so tightly that you'll never let it go. Okay? That's what it means to cleave to something. In fact, the Bible tells us that when a man and a woman get married, they are one flesh. All right? And you are to value your spouse even more than you value your children. And women seem to struggle with that a whole lot more than men do, which is so odd to me, but whatever. The Bible tells us that obviously God comes first, and then the husband, then the wife, and then the kids. And like I said, for a married couple, Christ should always be the cornerstone. Christ should always be the foundation, and it should come first. But within that family context, your spouse comes first. Okay? Then your kids, so on and so forth. But Paul outlines what each person's responsibility is and what their role in the marriage is supposed to be. And we're going to start in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22. All right? And we're going to read through Ephesians 6, 4. All right? So verse 22 says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord." So wives, women, when you get married or when you are married, you should be willing to submit to your husband. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a servant, okay, or some sort of a slave or whatever else. It just means that you are submitting to his authority. You are submitting to him as the head of the household, okay? And we'll keep going. But wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. The same way that you submit to God, or you're supposed to, that's how you're supposed to submit to your husbands. Verse 23, "For the husband is the head of the wife." This is vital. And a lot of women can't handle it, especially the feminazis. They just can't deal with that. And that's why their marriages are a joke. Plain and simple. That's why their marriages usually don't work. Okay? The husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. So Christ, then the husband, then the wife, then the kids. The husband is the head of the wife. You watch television today, all those new television shows, and I don't watch them, but you can tell just by watching a preview of the show what the scenario is. Mom is in charge, dad is an idiot, the kids rule the roost. It's a mess. You watch these, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do watch old television shows, and of course, there's going to be commercials, and it's these laundry commercials, and it's dad who's doing the laundry. It's dad who's staying at home to take care of the kids. It's upside down, it's backward, and this is why our world is in the mess that it's in, because we've strayed so far from what the Bible says. See, now, the way society has positioned it, women are the head of the household, and the man is some sort of comic court jester, basically. He stays at home. He drives the kids to school. He does the laundry. He mops the floor. He sweeps. It's just ridiculous. And I'm not saying that a guy can't do those things, but that should not be his primary role at all. All right? If there's going to be a parent that stays at home, if you're fortunate enough, blessed enough, to where you live in a household where one income will sustain your family, then it should be mom that's staying at home, not dad. Dad should be out there working, being the provider he's supposed to be, while mom is at home taking care of the house and the kids as she's supposed to be. All right? And when you start to mess with that and tamper with that, that is why we have a divorce rate that's well over 50%, why we have kids that grow up without their fathers, why we have kids who have resentment toward their mom because their mom's trying to be a dad, kids who grow up to have no sort of work ethic, they're usually in trouble with the law, they have drug problems, etc., because dad's either out of the picture or mom has pushed him to the corner and she's now ruling the roost. And this is what you get, an upside down society, completely opposite of what God commands of us. All right? With that being said, then that's what we know is expected of the wife. Let's keep reading. All right, "For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything." Everything. Not one thing, not two, not some, not most, all, in everything. And I was talking to a friend recently who is in one of these situations that I was mentioning before. Some marital issues have convened, and there's a good chance that the husband may leave the marriage. And I'm not going to go into details. I don't even know all the details. I just know some of the details, so I'm just going to leave it there. The point is, it looks as though the husband may leave the marriage. All right? So when I was talking to this gal who was a friend of ours, my wife and I, and we were going through these verses, okay? And I said, let's read these verses. And I said, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy, but here it is. So we read through it, and she's like, well, okay, I can do that. I can submit to my husband, and I've tried to throughout our marriage. You know, I've failed sometimes, I'm sure, but I've tried to, and I want to, and this is, I just want for him to come back, and so we can, model our marriage after this right here. So we got to that part where it says, so let the wives be to their husbands in everything. And she says to me, she said, but that's only if he's doing his part too, right? And I said, no. That's why I said this is hard. Even if your spouse is not doing what they're supposed to do, one, it's not your place to try to make them. And two, whether they're doing their role or not, you still are commanded to do yours. So, guys, if you marry some gal and she decides she's not going to submit to you, it's not your job nor your place to make her do it. You're stuck with her. Should have picked better. All right? And just because she's not doing her part doesn't mean you're not supposed to still do your part. Wives, just because your husband, maybe he's not being the spiritual leader he's supposed to be, he's not being the head of the household like he's supposed to, maybe he's removed himself from the picture or whatever, you are still supposed to do your part. You are still supposed to submit unto him, unless, of course, he wants you to do something that's illegal, or especially if it's something against God's word. But the Bible makes it clear. It says, wives, even if your husband's not doing what he's supposed to do, keep doing what you're supposed to do, that you may win him over. That you may win him over. Okay? So even though your spouse may not be doing their part, you are still supposed to do yours. That's why this is not real easy. It's not. But if you do it, things turn out much better. Things will turn out much better. And God gave this to us. He gave us this picture, this structure for a reason. Paul makes it clear. It wasn't Adam who was deceived. It was Eve who was deceived. Women are much more gullible. They're much more naive. They tend to be more trusting. And that's not a bad thing. Not all the time, but sometimes it allows for people to manipulate and take advantage of. Okay? Therefore, that's why God has placed men as at the top of this, other than Christ, of course. But men are to be above their wives, because men, typically speaking, think logically, whereas women, they think emotionally. And you need both, but on the whole, you need this in order to sustain structure and for provision and for safety and protection. Okay? That's why men are placed in those roles. All right, let's keep reading. Now this is where it turns to the husbands. Verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Husbands, love your wives the way that Christ loved the church. How much did Christ love the church, and what did he do to demonstrate that? Well, he loved the church so much, that's us, that he died for it. Died for it. Willingly died for his spouse, his bride, us, the church. All right? And gave himself for it. He put himself up on that cross. He allowed himself to be put on that cross, to be tortured and tormented, to be crucified, and to die for us. Husbands, that's what you have to do for your wives. See, Wives are to live for their husbands. Husbands are to die for their wives, just like Christ, just like us. See, it's all one big picture, even of our salvation. Christ is the groom, we're the bride. What did the groom do for the bride? He died for the bride. What is the bride to do in return? To live for Christ, to live for the groom. See? Husbands, you are to die for your wives. You should protect them as they are the weaker vessel, as it says in Peter. Protect them, cover them, provide for them, even at your own expense, especially at your own expense, so that in return she will live for you. She will cook your food, she will clean your house, she'll fold your clothes, she'll do it gladly. Look, what woman in their right mind wouldn't submit to a man who's willing to die for her? Only a feminazi, only an insecure little girl wouldn't do that, okay? And what kind of a man wouldn't die for a wife that's willing to do everything for him to make sure that he's comfortable, to make sure that he's taken care of? Just a little boy. A little boy wouldn't want a wife like that, or would leave a wife like that. Okay? Now, again, I understand that there are extenuating circumstances, and sometimes both people are doing their part, but something happens. An affair, adultery enters the picture, drugs, alcohol, money. Finances are one of the biggest causes for strife, friction, arguments, disagreements in any marriage. And in this bizarre, crazy, upside-down economy that we have, it's compounded. Okay? But remember this. Okay? You and your wife are one flesh, but you're partners. You and your husband, doesn't matter. Spouses. Even though those troubles are coming at you, even though those troubles are just crushing you, you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, you need that partner. You need her. She needs you. You guys need to be sticking together at this point. Right? Unity. And it gets hard, trust me. We know. My wife and I, we went through a very hard time not too long ago. Finances can cause a whole lot of stress and strife and worry and anxiety. But what are we supposed to do? Right? The Bible says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything through prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. That's what you're supposed to do. Not get mad at your spouse, not get stressed out, not tear your hair out. Well, if you have hair, don't tear your beard out. Don't lose sleep. Don't stop eating. Trust in God. Trust that Jesus is going to take care of it. Okay? Too many people think, oh no, all the world is caving in. What do we do? And they run around scurrying about doing all these different things that they think that might help. Oh, I'll get 12 jobs. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. I won't go here. I won't buy the new shoes. I won't. And sometimes you do have to make some sacrifices. But why are you doing all that? And then, oh wait, I guess I should pray too. See, that prayer should have been at the top of the list. Give it to God. He'll take care of it. Yes, you may have to make some sacrifices. You may have to get rid of some of the extracurricular stuff. You might not need all the stuff that you think you need. If you're trying to get your finances under control and level things off, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Okay? But it takes more than that. And you shouldn't be stressing and losing sleep and turning against your partner. You should be calling out to God, praying fervently. Pray without ceasing, the Bible says. And getting into this, your King James Bible, so that you can read these verses that give you that comfort. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Are you doing that? Are you reading verses and implementing them? Here's another thing. Maybe, you may not be the sole reason why this strife is happening. You may not even be the major contributor to why this strife in your marriage is taking place. But it's the little things too. What little things are you doing? What little things could you change? You might think, oh, that's just something small. That shouldn't matter. To God, it might matter. To God, it may be a big thing. I've talked before. Look, there's nothing wrong with a person. I would say a guy because I just picture a guy coming home from work. He's worked all day, hard day. And if he wants a beer, let him have a beer. Two beers, if that's what it takes for him to unwind. But if it becomes a problem, and if you can't handle it, if you become mean when you drink, if you get real ornery when you drink, then you need to let it go. You need to get rid of it. It should no longer be a part of the picture. It should no longer be a part of that equation. Not only that, but if you're trying to level off your finances and dig yourself out of this hole, this financial hole you're in, is beer a need? Is whiskey a need? I don't think so. Again, I don't have anything against people that drink if they can handle it and if they can afford it. But if you're already struggling to make your house payment, your car payment, send your kid to college, whatever it may be, buy groceries. Beer should probably come off the list. Whiskey should come off the list. You know, these extracurricular things, like, you know, I know people don't go out and rent movies anymore, but just pretend, okay? If you smoke cigarettes, stop. Those are expensive. Don't rent the movies. You don't need to, and most of them are horrible anyway. Again, get that crap out of your life. Do you need to go out to dinner? I think that every couple should have a date night, but that doesn't mean you have to go and spend money. When we were, about 10 or 15 years ago, when my wife and I were in a horrible position, a date night for us, because we couldn't afford to go to a restaurant, a date night for us was to go for a walk in the park. And I tell you what, those were some of the best nights we ever had. We didn't have to spend money. We didn't have to go to a restaurant. We didn't go to a movie or a play or whatever. We just went for a walk. And if we had a few extra dollars, we might buy a soda. Seriously, a soda to share. But man, those were some of the best days and nights that we've ever had. And it's what brought us to where we are right now. We were able to climb out of debt. I had a stray hair. Boy, that always happens, and I hate that. Anyway, we were able to get our finances in order and actually start to see profit. We were starting to do really well, and still are. But it took sacrifice. We had to drop some stuff. Now, you know, things are better for us. Thank God. But it wasn't easy, and it was a lot of hard work, and it was a lot of sacrifice. And now, you know, we can do more things. We can go more places. But I tell you what, we're always grateful to God for every trip or vacation or every time we go out to eat. We're thankful for it. We know why. Yes, we both work hard. Yes, we make money. Yes, we've downsized where we needed to. But we know that at the end of the day, it was God. It's God that provides for us. I got this cup. I like this. What does it say? Salty Breeze. Galveston Island. That's where we went not too long ago, a few weeks ago. Galveston Island, Texas. Okay? We were there for 4 or 5 days. I don't remember. Why? Because we've never been there. How were we able to do it? Well, because of good financial planning. Definitely. Getting rid of stuff that we didn't need. But also, God. And look, I'm not perfect by any means. Neither is my wife. Don't tell her I said that. But we're not perfect. We have issues like I do. Like I have stray beard hairs. God darn. Anyway, we have stuff that we're still working on, especially me. Okay, I'm impatient. I have stuff that I'm working on. But on the whole, we have straightened up our lives so much, that yes, God is more inclined to bless us. That doesn't mean that hard times don't still come. They do. But when they do, guess what? We don't turn against each other. We lock arms and we say, okay, we're going to face this thing. We're going to make it through this, no matter what it may be. We don't turn against each other, and we don't panic. I used to. Many years ago, I would panic. Now I don't. I go into prayer first and foremost, and then I get into this book right here. That's what I do. And then, yes, I have to plan stuff out and maybe adjust things. Yes, we have to do our part as well, but man, you're going to have to make some sacrifices and change your lives around. And like I said, I'm not living a perfect life. I'm not. But I try to. I monitor very carefully the things that I watch, the things that I listen to, the things that I consume. Well, that one I'm working on too. But I don't do any drugs or alcohol. But my weakness is stuff like this. Cookies. Although these ones aren't as bad. Look at Mr. Beast cookies. They're plant-based, gluten-free. Gluten's not an issue for me, but they're non-GMO, no high fructose corn syrup, no artificial flavorings, no hydrogenated oils. So they're relatively healthy. All right, but this is still my weakness, and these aren't the only cookies I have. Just to be honest, I've got some store-bought cookies and some donuts over there. So I'm not entirely winning, but I do try to be careful, and I try to balance it out and eat well, and I take supplements, and I stay active. I do all those things. But I try to keep, and I fail sometimes, I'm not going to lie, but I try to keep my mind clean, and I try to keep my thoughts clean, and I try to do what is right. And when I do fail, I say I'm sorry. I tell God I'm sorry, and I try not to do it again. Okay? Clean up your life. The little things. And this accumulation of stuff, man, I used to do it too, so I can speak on this because I was guilty as charged. But this accumulation of stuff is so ridiculous to me. You're not going to be able to take any of it with you. All right? The one thing, though, that you can hold on to for all of your life, memories. Memories. See, I don't have a four-wheeler or a motorcycle or a Lamborghini or whatever else. I could probably buy those things. I'd have to finance them, to be honest. But I could buy them. But why? I'd rather take that money and do things like this. Go to Texas for 4 or 5 days. Or like we did last year, and go to Orlando and Tallahassee and the Florida Keys. Or like we did the summer before, we went to Mackinac Island and Frankenmuth and all those things. See, I don't want stuff that just sits around and you can only use it sometimes or whatever. I want to go places. God gave us a beautiful world. Now there's a bunch of junk that happens, we know that. But the world itself, God gave to us. Beautiful. Look at this. This is a picture. Maybe you've noticed it behind me before. This is a picture of where my grandparents, this is property that they own. They've passed since then, but this is property that's been in our family for well over 100 years. Probably close to 150 by now. Close to it anyway. This is beautiful to me. This is what God's earth is. Look at how beautiful those trees are. The land over here where my grandfather had a garden and a nice, just all that kind of stuff. God gave us a beautiful earth, and I want to see as much of it as I can. You know, I want to travel and see new things. And like I said, in my mind, always know, God gave us this. God gave us this. Okay? So, again, I'm off on a tangent, but you need to prioritize is what I'm getting at. All right. Verse 26. Then he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. Then he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. If you love your wife, you'll love yourself, because you're going to want to take care of yourself so that you can continue to protect her, provide for her, and love her. All right? For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. We're supposed to take care of our bodies. Like I said, hey, I have my vices too. There's a bunch of donuts sitting right there that I will probably eat soon. Okay? I know that. But on the whole, I take good care of myself. We're supposed to take good care of ourselves. All right? Physically, mentally, but especially spiritually. Okay? Even as the Lord the church. The way that Jesus takes care of the church, that's how we as husbands are to take care of our wives. And in return, our wives will submit to us and take care of us. It's a team. It's a It's teamwork. That's the best way I can put it. All right. For we are members of his body, and of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Now that's going back to what it says in Genesis. But a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined unto his wife. When you married your wife, you became one flesh. You became basically one person. Now you still have your separate identities and bodies, of course. But you are one. You are one flesh, just like we are one with Christ. We're in the same body. We're in the body of Christ. And that's what marriage is. It's a picture of that. And just like we cannot lose our salvation, we can't be separated from Christ, that's how marriage is supposed to be. You're not supposed to separate. Okay, what God has brought together, let no man put asunder. Let no man tear apart. Okay? And again, this goes back to, it's so important within your family structure that you put your spouse first, above your kids. Above your kids. Your kids come after your spouse. And like I said before, it's mostly women that struggle with this. But not always. There's some guys that struggle with that too. But if you're a person who struggles with that, you better get it straight and fast. That's probably why. That could be a big part of why you're having any sort of marital problems. Now again, I'm not saying that just to women. It's mostly women. But there are guys like that too. I've seen it. Where they put either the kids before the wife, or they put some stupid fishing trip above their wife, or whatever else. You better get it right. Your spouse comes first, even above your kids. And if you don't get that right, you're going to forever have marital issues. And women, if you're not willing to submit to your husband, even if he's not doing what he's supposed to, you can expect problems. Guys, if you're not going to love your wife like Christ loved the church, then you've failed as a man, you've failed as a husband, you've failed as a father, and you have failed as a witness for Christ. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to lose your salvation or that you're a horrible person. I'm not saying that. But we're a billboard for Christ, especially us men, because we're the head of the household. How our family behaves and how they're perceived falls on us. Okay? That's a lot of responsibility, guys. But that's why God put it on us. Because again, we're not the weaker vessel. The women are. We weren't the ones who were deceived. The women were. Okay? We're put in that position for a reason. Because we think more logically rather than emotionally. We're there for a reason. It's a responsibility. It's a right. And you need to cherish that and value it and take care of it. Alright? Verse 32, this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. It's that simple. That simple. Is it easy to do? Not always. But as you grow in Christ, it gets easier. If you're really, truly interested in growing in Christ, it will get easier. Do your part, even if the other person isn't. Alright? Chapter 6. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. If you're not making your kids mind and obey the rules of your home, then you have failed as a parent. Period. If you're letting your kids come and go as they please and do whatever they want to and speak to you however they want to and disobey you and disrespect you, you have failed as a parent, and you're passing that along now to your kids, who are going to have their kids do the same, and that's why our society has completely unraveled. As I said before, society paints this picture where women are the head of the household, the man is some court jester, and the kids are the ones that actually rule the whole thing. They rule it all. That's not how it's supposed to be. And if that's how it's going on in your house, you've failed. And that's why you're having all these marital problems. Get your kids under control. Children, obey your parents, no matter what, unless they ask you to do something against God's word or something that's illegal. At that point, you don't have to do what they say. But you kids are supposed to listen to your parents, obey them. In fact, in the commandments, the Ten Commandments, is to honor them. Honor, respect, obey. All right. Verse 2. Honor thy father and mother. There we go. Which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. You treat your parents right, there's a better chance that you're going to live a longer, healthier, happier life. It's not a guarantee, because life happens, but you have a greater chance of living a longer, healthier, happier life. Just by doing something as simple as honoring your father and your mother, obeying what they say. Now, when you turn 18 and you have your own house, you can do whatever you want to. But where I come from, even if I was 18 or 25, if for some reason I was living under my parents' roof, I still had to obey their rules. And you need to be doing that too. I hear this all the time. Well, he's 18, so there's nothing I can do about it. They live in your house. There's something you can do about it. They don't want to obey you. They don't want to do what they're supposed to do. Put all their stuff out by the road. They'll come around. They'll either go get their own house or they'll start obeying your rules so that they can come back home. It's your home. I don't care how old they are. They could be 50. If they're not obeying your rules and doing what this says, then you have failed as a parent. And maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know it. Could be. Look, you never stop being a parent. Now, when they turn 18 and they have their own life, they have their own home, they have their families and whatever else, then it's time for you to back off, definitely. Absolutely. Don't get caught up in what they're doing. Quit trying to rule their life. They're an adult. Let them do what they have to do. You did your part. Now back off. All right? But if they're still living in your house and the rule is the doors lock at 11 o'clock, everyone needs to be home by 11 o'clock, and don't come home later than 11. 11 o'clock is the curfew. I don't care if they're 18, 24, or 92. Your house, your rules, they need to obey them, and you need to enforce that. Quit doing this hands off, well, they're 18. There's nothing I can do. Really? They're in your house. They're in your house. They live there. That's where all their stuff is. Either send them shipping or tell them, you know what? Obey the rules or you're out. It's that simple. Really. It's not hard. Be the parent. Quit trying to be their buddy, their pal, their best friend, whatever else. All right? All right. In verse 4, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Dads, it's up to you. It's up to you. Because, see, moms aren't typically the disciplinarians. Now, sometimes they are. But it's usually dad. That's the disciplinarian and the one that enforces the rules because he's the head of the household. Now, mom needs to do that too, and she needs to back dad up. If dad says that the rule is everyone's home at 10 o'clock, then mom needs to do that and not make exceptions. Or go behind dad's back and, oh, well, that does just sneak over here and you can come home at 11. Don't do that. That's failing as a parent. That's failing as a wife. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Dad, it's your responsibility to enforce those rules and make sure that the kids are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Okay? But don't provoke them to wrath. What does that mean? Don't purposely try to make them angry. Don't purposely make rules that you know that are just arbitrary rules that have no meaning or substance. Well, on Tuesdays you can only wear red shoes. Whatever. Something stupid like that. Why do that? You know what I mean? And some things just aren't worth fighting over. You know what I mean? It's the big, just know when it's okay, when it's, when you need to actually interfere. Just know when to draw those battle lines, all right? And as a man, as a husband, as the head of the household, you're supposed to be able to discern those things. And women, wives, same for you. You should know when to draw the line and when to just back off. All right, that's part of being a parent. And all of that can be found in this book right here. People say, oh, there's no instruction manual when I had kids. Yeah, there was. And it's still here. It's right here. Everything you need to know about raising your kids, being a good parent, Everything is right here in this book. And we've only just touched on just a little bit by going through these few verses we've talked about today. There's plenty more in here that will tell you about parenting, being a good husband, being a good wife, just being good Christians, being good saved people. It's all in here. Are you reading it? That's the problem. And when you read it, is it just, okay, let's hurry up and get through this so I can get back to American Idol or The Masked Singer or whatever stupid show that's on TV now. I don't even know. Don't even care. What is your priority? How often do you stick your nose into this compared to how often do you have your nose pointed at the television? Just asking. And hey, I'm guilty of it too. There are days where I'll sit in front of I usually watch TV on my phone, but I'll watch 4 or 5 episodes of a certain TV show, and then I'll think, wait a minute, what am I doing? It's a good TV show. I don't watch bad TV shows. All the shows I watch are like Andy Griffith, Gomer Pyle, stuff like that. Anyway, but I'll think to myself, I've spent 2 hours watching TV, because they're half-hour episodes. I've spent 2 hours watching TV. I haven't even read my Bible yet. Now, I'm not saying I have to read my Bible for 2 hours, okay? But did I give the same amount of devotion to God's Word as I did to the television? And when I read God's Word, am I just glancing through it, picking out the parts I like, throwing away the parts I don't like? Am I just going through it as fast as I can, speed reading, so I can get back to the TV show? Or are you actually sitting down and meditating on it, discerning it? Especially the books of Paul. Those are the books that are written to us. Those are the books that you should be really diving into. Romans through Philemon. Those are the ones that are written to us. If you want to know what your doctrine's supposed to be, what salvation, how salvation comes, all that stuff is in the books of Paul. You should be diving into those each and every day. Anyway, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Consequence them when it's necessary, but don't provoke them to wrath. Know when to draw the lines. And are you doing family Bible studies? Are you sitting down with your spouse and your kids and reading this together? Just an idea. Just an idea. Probably a good one. My wife and I, we read together at night, right before bed. Now, sometimes we can't because she might work late or I work late. But on our own, we'll read when we need to, and then when we can, we read together. And you should be doing the same thing as often as you can. Read together. You should be encouraging your kids to get into this book and read it and discern it and implement it in their lives. But you know what? You have to set that example. You need to do that too. You need to set that example for them. Or again, are you just parking yourself in front of whatever stupid television show is on that's probably inappropriate, and then wondering why your kids are running rampant? And get rid of the extracurriculars that are unnecessary or that are damaging your marriage or damaging your health or damaging your finances. Okay? You may have to make some sacrifices. All of that. And look, I'm praying for every single one of these couples that their marriages will last, that their marriages will get better, that they'll be able to reconcile and put this all back together. I hope that. I hope that sincerely. And prayer is powerful, don't get me wrong. And I know that they're praying too. But you have to make some changes. You may have to make some big changes. They may not be easy. But if you want your marriage bad enough, you'll be willing to do it. And God has made it clear what each person's role is. If you want your marriage to work, wives, submit to your husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wife the same way that Christ loved the church. Parents, make your kids obey. Make them follow the rules for as long as they're living under your roof. Kids, obey your parents and honor and respect them. All right? All right, guys, I think I've rambled long enough. I hope that's been a help to some of you. I'm praying for you all. And I'm saying these things not to be mean. I'm saying it because I care about you, and I want to see your marriage succeed, because like I said, divorce is already way too common. It should be avoided at all costs. I understand that sometimes it has to happen. I get that. All right? But you should take every step that you can, every precaution that you can to build up and safeguard that marriage and preserve it and make it work. All right? And it starts with right here what's in this Bible, your King James Bible. And make sure it's a King James Bible. Those other ones are satanic. Watch my videos about King James only. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who are not saved, I don't know how unsaved people get through life without having a connection to the Creator, without having a relationship with Christ, without being saved. I don't know how people do it. I think it's harder for them. And they may not even realize it. But beyond that, eternity. See, all of this here is just temporal. This is all going to fade away someday. But there is an eternity, and you're going to spend it in one of two places, heaven or hell. All right? Smoking or non-smoking. I pray fervently that you'll choose heaven, that you'll choose Christ, that you'll choose to get saved. Well, how do you get saved? Like I said, our salvation rests in the Bible, specifically the books of Paul. All right? 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 4 tells us that we are saved by trusting, because trusting is the only thing you can do that is not a work. We are saved by trusting on the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Romans 3:25 tells us that we are saved through faith in His blood. It's His atoning blood that washes our sins away, past, present, future. It washes all of our sins away. So you need to have faith, trust in that blood. Ephesians 2:8 and 9 tells us that we are saved by faith alone, not of works. Not of works. Your salvation has nothing to do with what you do or don't do. It rests entirely on what Jesus did. Okay? 100% on the finished work of Christ. All right? And finally, Ephesians 1:13, which tells us that when we get saved, we are sealed by the Holy Spirit. Sealed. We cannot lose our salvation. Now that's the what. I always say that salvation is twofold. Who and the what. That's the what. What's the who? You must know who Jesus is. You must know, believe, trust, have faith that Jesus is God. Because He is. Jesus is God in the flesh. We have a triune God, one God who manifests in three forms. God the Father, God the Son, that's Jesus, and God the Holy Spirit. All right? So if you believe, if you trust on that who and the what, you're saved instantly. It's not a process. It doesn't take time. As soon as you trust on that, you're saved, and you're forever saved. You cannot lose it. Even if you decide, I don't want this anymore. Too bad, too late. You're already saved. That means you're going to spend eternity in heaven with God. I can't think of anything better. There is nothing better. So I hope that you'll do that. If you are saved, what are you doing to get other people saved? You can't save them. I can't save them. Only Jesus can. So what are you doing to lead people to Christ? Well, again, it goes back to what we were talking about here. What kind of billboard are you presenting to other Christians, to newborn Christians, to people who are not saved? What are you presenting to them? Do they know what you watch? Do they know what you listen to? Maybe that's painting a bad picture of what a Christian's supposed to be. Just asking. And are you even actively trying to get people saved? When's the last time you gave somebody a tract, or even just left a tract on the table when you leave a restaurant, or shared a video like this one, or asked somebody, hey, if you died today, do you know you would be going to heaven? When have you ever shared your story? Have you ever? The point is, we're supposed to be out there trying to get people saved, trying to bring people to Christ so that they don't spend an eternity in hell. All right? I think that's an important mission. All right. So anyway, guys, I thank you for tuning in. I have some more videos that I'll be filming here shortly. Those ones will be in front of the whiteboard. I have this one that will be going up on the 23rd. And if you're watching this, then it's already the 23rd, and you're going to know, and what I'm saying now, I should be past tense for you. But anyway, On the 16th, my video, I did an interview with a gal named Jessica who has struggled with addiction, is in recovery, has a fascinating story about her faith and how she came to Christ and how she wants to use her experiences to help others. It's really, really good, really fascinating. I hope you check that out. That one's premiering on the 16th. So anyway, guys, I'm going to turn this off and turn my air back on. I turned the air conditioning off so it wouldn't be noisy in here, and it's now 87 degrees in here. That's how hot it is and how fast it warms up in here. So I'm going to turn this off and turn my air on. All right, guys, take care, and God bless.